Welcome to Healing Through Dentistry podcast,
where we redefine health, wellness, and the power of your smile.
We're your hosts,
Hanna
and Eva, twin sisters, qualified dentists and medical doctors.
This is more than a dental podcast.
It's a journey into profound connection between oral health and whole body healing.
Through personal stories, inspiring client transformations, and expert insights,
we explore how dentistry can ignite energy, relieve chronic pain, and transform lives.
Get ready to discover the extraordinary ways your smile can heal, inside and out.
Let's begin. Welcome to a next episode, and I'm excited because we would be talking about the Novak Djokovic.
It's kind of funny to be talking about our favorite tennis player in the world on Healing Through Dentistry podcast, but it's got a lot to do with us. So in the last episode, we were talking about the bone healing protocol. Bone healing protocol is a complex of protocols we do recommend to our clients during the treatments,
involving some lifestyle changes and the recommendation what to eat and what not to eat, and supplementing minerals and vitamins.
And so what we started to talk about last time about was Novak Djokovic experience, story, and it's to do with gluten.
And I will add for listeners who have not heard this previous episode that the bone healing protocol is a system of two parts. One part is we do recommend to skip or don't eat gluten for a month. Gluten, sugar, dairy products, conventional alcohol, caffeine, and no smoking. And the other part of the protocol is to supplement vitamins and minerals. And the first part of the lifestyle is gluten. So for just the beginning, gluten is a protein which is in foods, in wheat. It holds the food together, and it's in rye, wheat, and grain.
It's almost everywhere, Eva.
So it's in pasta, it's in bread, it's in dough. It's basically in a bakery. When you walk into the bakery, so everything is gluten, not free, but gluten contained.
Yes. Maybe one more thing to add. Why do we recommend not to eat those stuff, and why do we recommend to supplement? The general rule is that we recommend it to do that a month before and a month after treatments. But like we discussed in the last episode, it is individual. But like most people, 80% is following the protocol a month before and a month after. And why do we not want them to eat gluten and other stuff Eva just listed is that all this stuff is pro-inflammatory, which means it is causing your body inflammation. And that's why we do want everyone to skip it, because obviously if we do need, healing, we do need as purest body as possible, supported with all this vitamin and minerals in the protocol. And so what I found fascinating was Novak Djokovic's story. And it was so powerful, even for him, that he decided, even though he is a tennis player, yes, he decided to write a book about it. So I did read it a few months ago, and I don't remember every single detail, but I'd like to share it with you because I do believe it is great to read
the personal stories, personal transformations, and this is the story behind the scene of the biggest player in the world.
And I have to say, it is also really nice to hear, like Eva said, behind the scenes. Even though I do love him as a tennis player, I do see him yet in another perspective, in a different eyes. He went through a war. I didn't know that they needed to actually,
evacuate,
but they were actually in Belgrade at that time. So they needed to hide for 3 months. And what was almost heartbreaking as well is that the only thing they were able to cook, or one of the, not much they were able to cook, was actually a bread. So this bread, which was for him maybe a symbol of surviving, because it was easy to bake and to, then feed
The flour, the water, and egg is part of the dough for bread.
Exactly.
So it's
and so what happened?
basic food.
So that was interesting to see even his like life story, like where he's coming from and what he went through. Definitely read it. It's beautiful. And it is beautiful in that sense that he discovered that this very gluten in a bread, which probably saved him his life, was causing that he wasn't on the top of his game. That was back in 2009. And he was having breathing issues. He was having emotional meltdowns. He was having cramps, and he was considered as a actor, like when
in
his
modern
colleagues.
Western world.
Yeah, no, well, when his colleagues, Anna, I mean, that must have been Federer back then, and Nadal might have, oh, he is a drama queen. Look, like he's about to win and he's collapsing. Like he's having breathing issues. Like they were worried, like the doctors and the world were worried that he's got epilepsy, and that's something serious. And because Novak Djokovic I admire him. He's very open-minded and he is letting opinions of others in and he's thinking them through. So one day, a random guy, like he didn't even know, one doctor or specialist, I'm not sure if it was like osteopath or naturopath or doctor, but his name was, I think, Dr. Cvetkovic. He watched him
play
the tennis on TV. He was watching him on TV, and he, like, from watching him on TV, said, no, this is not epilepsy. This is not, whatever issue. This is gluten. And he reached out to him, and Novak, invited him to come over because he thought, oh, this is totally different what others are telling me. Let's invite him over. And again, it is kind of very nicely said in the book that this Dr. Cvetkovic did one kinesiology test, which took him 5-10 seconds. And based on that, he's had diagnosis. And Novak was blown away. He was like, are you kidding me? I'm having million, blood tests and examinations and x-rays and whatever. And you're telling me based on 10 seconds of this test, he literally did tell him, raise your hand up. And, he made him hold the bread, or can't remember, or thinking of bread. And he was testing the muscle strength. And when he was holding the bread in the other arm, the arm was reacting to it. So he was like, okay.
Was very weak.
I was very weak. So this was the first sign. And obviously then Dr. Cvetkovic said, well, let's do more of exam and, exploration. And they really did find out that he was reacting to gluten. He was allergic to gluten, but also partially to tomatoes as well. And it is interesting, how the whole story in his life was unfolding, because I was just mentioning that the bread was for him something which he may perceive as a survival food, because they went through the war, and with his young siblings, a family of 5, I think the only thing they could eat back then when they were hiding 3 months, because of the bombing of Belgrade, that was bread. And another thing, how the universe is funny, or someone who's creating this for us, is that his parents had, I don't know, one of the first ones, pizzeria in their area. So what he basically was eating when he was training for, tennis was pizza, which means gluten, like a dough, and a tomato on top. So I thought this is another joke. Anyway, so this was how he grew up. Anyway, he reached certain level, and then he saw that, when he plays with the very, very best 5, he always collapsed. So he thought, okay, he's telling me quitting it for a couple of weeks. He's not telling me quitting it forever. He absolutely loved bread. He absolutely loved pizza. He absolutely loved some kind of a donuts he's describing they eat in Serbia. And anyway, he said, okay, what do I have to lose? Nothing. Well, let's just do what he says for 14 days and let's see how I feel. And the result, what he's achieved, was mind-blowing even for Novak, because he not only stopped having breathing issues. He also had more clarity. So he's just saying it's not affecting only your gut and, lungs and, like organs, but also your mind. Again, like we were just talking with Eva, it is inflammatory food. Mm-hmm. So what inflammation does, it expands, like your cells in your body are expanding. So he had more clarity. He was less tired because he's just like, again, describing his routine, just really important because you kind of think, okay, he's very natural. He's had been given a gift of being able to win ATPs and like big tournaments, but that's not true. He still has to work really hard in order to do so. And so it is really interesting to read like what his routine is about. And so what he was saying, obviously as a sport person and as a competitive person, he said he always kind of got up and, like did his routine and stuff. But he said the game changer was that he was actually getting up with the ease. He slept much better. He had clarity. He didn't have like this glucose spikes and he was feeling amazing. And so what happened, like only 2 years after, I think I'm not sure if this was like 2009. Anyway, like very soon after, I think it was like a few months after, he like won a major tournament. Can't remember if it was ATP or Grand Slam. But since that, he had like, I don't know, 43 weeks of consecutive winning every single match he's done. So he thought this is a no-brainer. I need to not only to follow this forever, I also need to write a book about this and share this with people because they might not know. And that's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. And in addition to that, to what Hanna, she said about Novak Djokovic, well, I have put down 2 notes, which is about tomatoes. And the skin of tomatoes is actually, if you think about it, that if you go to Italy or if you think of your grandma, they always put the tomato in hot water and they peel the tomatoes. Yep. So we have to go back to the roots and, learn from our ancestors what they did. And I love also to listen to podcasts to Dr. Stephen Gundry, and he's a gut doctor, and he's talking about foods which are toxic. And he only to remove the skin from tomatoes, that's the allergen for our bodies, was that transforming for clients that they had vitiligo, which is like you have the spots of white skin, which is very visible. So that disappeared. And so that's very transformational, and it's all in foods. So
yep, it's called, that part is called lectin.
Lectin. Yeah.
And the book of what Dr. Gundry written is really good. I recommend to read it. It's called Plant Paradox. Because you might think, okay, plants, vegetable, everything's so healthy. But like Eva said, why did our grandmothers used to
peel the tomatoes?
Yeah,
there is science behind it.
They knew that, like
it's not good for body.
The bodies wasn't using it really well. So they used to do it. So for whoever might be thinking about weird conditions they have, be it gut issues, be it
tiredness,
be it skin conditions, try to dig deeper into a plant paradox or lectin, and definitely gluten. Like I would recommend what Novak Djokovic is recommending. Try it for 2 weeks. You don't have to actually force yourself, okay, I need to do it for the rest of my life, because for a lot of people, food is comforting. And for a lot of people, they cannot imagine not having their donuts, not having their bread. Like I know so many people who are addictive to a bread.
Yes, but you can also go on our website, on our Instagram, and see there is a seed bread. And you would be so fascinated that it's actually better than the bread.
But I mean, there are alternatives. They even are beautiful. They taste good. But I mean, like psychologically, like, you can tell yourself, let's do it for 2 weeks and see what happens after 2 weeks. That's what Novak Djokovic did. He did it for 2 weeks. He thought it was amazing, and he is winning ever since. And that's what we do recommend to our clients as well. And that's what Eva and me has been living for many years. And I do see on my experience that whenever I am off, meaning in Italy, I was in Italy a few months back for skiing, and I did have pasta and I did have a bread. And did my body react to it? Well, no, it didn't. But, that's for me a sign that I am on a good path, choosing not to eat gluten, and I'm much better without it. But if I have it every now and then, that's fine.
Also, I like to point out one more thing. You were talking about kinesiologic tests, which our bodies, and we are so powerful, we are so smart, the body is smart, we know. So I like to also share one story from our practice when a president of amalgam community, like the awareness of against amalgam material, came over to us, and he muscle tested us. He asked whether we have amalgam filling in the clinic, and because we do have to, once you remove the amalgam filling, there is a special delivery system. It's a highly toxic material, so you have to have a protocol to rid of it. So we were holding it in a small box, and I didn't have any strength in my quadriceps, which is the strongest muscle. So very powerful to test yourself. And the basic is that you can put your fingers together, the thumb and the pointing finger, and put them together and say your name, I am Eva, and you would pull, it's true, I like gluten, no, so my body knows I don't like gluten. And that's the easy test to test. And one more story about gluten I would add from our little client who is 5 years old. And lots of children or lots of us have stains on teeth. And there is research behind it that it's caused by gluten, the development of the structure of the teeth. And this little boy, he knows that he doesn't like bread. So his mom, she said, actually, he doesn't like it. So he chooses not to eat it because he's super little small boy, very intuitive. So, you're working up till 7 years, you're more on theta, you're in a different space, and you're very intuitive. So his body knows the gluten is not good for him. So the stains on teeth could be caused by gluten. Again, inflammatory food.
Yeah. And maybe one more thing about gluten, Eva, why we're all addicted to gluten?
Yeah, because it's addictive.
It is, because there's it's not only gluten as a protein, there's other proteins. One of them is called morphine. So morphine's like addiction. So that's why I thought it was funny and clever. Why do you think you get a bread when you go to the restaurant? They just bring you, first of all, bread. Because they comfort your body, but also you just it is a sugar as well, gluten and sugar, and your sugar spike goes up, and you're just getting more excited and more hungry, and they make you addictive as well. So a lot of us do when we go to restaurants, we just go after the bread and we just, eat it. And then we're like, oh, why did I eat it? I'm not hungry for anything else, right? So gliomorphine is quite interesting as well, and it just makes sense to me. So amazing stories. Kudos to Novak Djokovic. Let's cheer him on to be, on a top for as many years as possible.
And cheering up the specialist, he spotted him, Dr. Chetkovic and Dr. Gandre as well for awareness of
plant paradox. And you can read more in his book. Okay, good chat, and let's speak to you later.
Thank you for joining us on Healing Through Dentistry podcast.
We hope today's conversation has inspired you to see your smile as the gateway to whole body well-being.
To stay connected, visit us on our website or follow us on social media.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could benefit.
Until next time, remember, healing starts with a smile.
Take care,
and we will see you in the next episode.